Can Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes beat Michigan and return to the top of the Big Ten?
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Shemon. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Well, as you know, on this podcast, we are doing a deep dive now. We're taking a look at every single football team for the upcoming football season. And today we are going to focus on the Ohio State Buckeyes, their personnel, take a peek at the future a little bit as far as recruiting goes. And then we're going to look at the schedule. And I'm going to give you an honest game-by-game analysis of what I think will happen this upcoming season. And then we'll close it out with Tuesday Tweets, a new benchmark feature that we're going to have a lot of fun with. In fact, I'm really looking forward to that as well. Be sure to subscribe and follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcasts. That way, you'll get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. All right, Ryan Day. Wow. 45-6, 4 full seasons plus 3 interim games as the head coach of the Buckeyes. That's pretty good. Another way to put it, 51 games, only 6 losses. Now, despite that, I'm sure he's absolutely tired of asking and answering questions about Michigan. It's been 2 years in a row. You throw in the COVID year where game was canceled in 2020, and I saw a website today that said it's been 1,300 and some days since Ohio State beat Michigan. Got to be tired of that, but it comes with the job. Although statements like that makes people forget, not Buckeye fans, of course, that the Buckeyes once dominated this series by winning 8 games in a row not too long ago. So it's been pretty impressive. That's just part of the deal. The Buckeyes are loaded again. They might even win a championship this year. So let's dive right in. I want to explore Ryan Day for a moment. And I mentioned the 6 losses, and I would take the 2 Michigan losses out of there. 4 losses in 4 seasons. And I mean this as a positive, not a negative. I don't want to dwell on anything negative here. It's been an incredible record. But the 4 losses, not including Michigan, 2019, a 6-point loss to number 2 Clemson in the Peach Bowl. In 2020, a loss to number 1 Alabama in the national championship. In 2021, a September loss to second-ranked Oregon by 7 points. The only downer on that, it was at home. And in 2022, a 1-point loss to number 1 ranked Georgia in the Peach Bowl on a last-second field goal as the clock struck midnight on New Year's Eve. That's it. That's it over 4 seasons. And yet there are changes afoot at the Ohio State football offices. We all know that offensive coordinator Brian Hartline is going to be calling plays this year. That's a change. Joe Philbin is being brought in as a football analyst. And of course, we know C.J Stroud is no longer there. He's now with the Houston Texans. A lot of times when programs make switches like that, changing who calls plays, bringing in analysts, usually those are programs that are in trouble, or an athletic director has come down and said, hey, make changes X, Y, and Z, or else you're not going to be here much longer. That's not the case here. This is more like Tiger Woods has won 3 of the last 4 majors, and he's going to completely change his swing. He's going to tweak it. Kind of more like that. So let's take a look at what we have to work with this year with the Buckeyes. Kyle McCord, junior quarterback, going to be the starter. He's the most experienced guy. 71% pass completion rate, very good. And a 5-star out of high school in New Jersey, and was teammates with Marvin Harrison Jr. So hopefully already some built-in chemistry ready to go this year. Now, Devin Brown, he was making a run for it too. He gave McCord, try to push him at quarterback. Brown did get hurt in the spring, missed 4 practices and missed the spring football game. So Kyle McCord is going to be the guy under center to start the season. And boy, quarterbacks across the country should be jealous at the weapons he has. Start with redshirt sophomore Marvin Harrison Jr. He returns. Best receiver in the country. In fact, best tandem of receivers in the country. But Harrison was Ohio State's first unanimous All-American, 14 touchdowns, bar none, best wide receiver. And a couple of games stand out from last year. Against Penn State, career highs, 10 catches, 185 yards, all 10 catches for first downs. Just a fantastic, their heads are still spinning having to play the Buckeyes in that game. And then against number 3 Michigan, 7 catches, 120 yards and a touchdown. And that was against a defense that was locked in on trying to stop him that day. They didn't. Emeka Egbuka he's probably the second best receiver in college football as well. 1,150 yards last year, 74 catches, 10 touchdowns. He's coming back. So those two, look out. Going to be a big year. Kyle McCord, those are your two best friends moving forward. At running back, Mayan Williams. Last year, missed 5 games with a foot injury. Still pretty good year, 800 yards and 14 touchdowns. Pretty good guy down by the goal line as well. You look at the last 3 years collectively, 1,400 yards and 17 touchdowns. It'd be nice if he could be healthy for the entire season and kind of put those kind of numbers that he's had for the last 3 years together for one season. The offensive line, a big hole in Paris Johnson Jr. Look, he got drafted early in the first round by the Cardinals. That's a big loss. They got to replace him. There's no doubt about it. Josh Fryer going to step in at left tackle, 6'6", 320 pounds out of Beech Grove, Indiana. Guy's played over 300 snaps, plenty of experience, not much to worry about there. And also a transfer out of San Diego State in Josh Simmons is coming in to anchor up that offensive line. Defensively, looking good. As far as I can remember as a kid, Ohio State always had, great linebackers, going back to one of my favorites, like Chris Spielman, or you can name a huge list. Tommy Eichenberg, he's the anchor of that defense this year. Great run stopper. He's a redshirt senior, plenty of experience. He's good to go. JT Tuimoloau coming off his Penn State game last year was like, I just mentioned how Marvin Harrison had a great game offensively against Penn State. JT's game against Penn State defensively, I'm going to throw these at you, and you tell me if this isn't the greatest single defensive game performance in the history of Ohio State. Sounds like a lot, doesn't it? Sounds like hyperbole. But check this out. In that game, he had 6 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 interceptions. One was a pick 6, 1 forced fumble, a fumble recovery, tackle for loss, a pass breakup that was tipped, and another teammate intercepted it, and 3 quarterback pressures. That was just one game. I guarantee you, when they call JT's name for the NFL draft and the networks, the NFL Network and ESPN goes to the highlight package, they could just use from this game. That's all they need. They got all their work done for them. All the producers there, just go to that game. He's phenomenal. Also, the Buckeyes will get a little help from Ole Miss. They got a transfer, sophomore corner, David Igbinosun. He's going to come in there and help the secondary a little bit. So the team looks pretty good from that standpoint. Also, I like to take a peek into the future a little bit and look at the recruits. The 2024 rankings for recruits has Ohio State at number 2, the ones I look at. They got Jeremiah Smith, the number 1 wide receiver in the country. They're already loaded at wide receiver. Now they're going to have more receivers coming in. Jeremiah Smith from Hollywood, Florida. He was an early signee, so they locked him up. Mylan Graham, another top 5, top 6 wide receiver. He's coming in from New Haven, Indiana. He was just signed in April. And then this is my favorite name of any recruit. Quarterback, Air Nolan. Your first name is Air. I love it. He's a top 5 quarterback from Georgia, and he just signed in April as well. So he'll be coming in to the Buckeye program. So the future looks good. The present looks good. And in just a minute, we're going to take a look at the schedule coming up for 2023, game by game, give you an honest assessment, an honest analysis, and we'll try and figure out what kind of season the Buckeyes are going to have. But first, we are brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball season is in full swing, and there's no better place to get in the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. It's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and join today. And I think baseball season is a great time to do this. I like having fun with over-unders or early inning over-unders with great pitching matchups. A lot of things you can do, prop bets. It's all great. So don't miss your chance to snag a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission. All right, let's take a look at that schedule here coming up here, starting with Indiana and closing out with Michigan. First, I want to thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen every day. In fact, you everydayers, our next show will take an early look at the Penn State football program. So tell all your friends that's coming up next. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten. You'll be doing me a personal favor. Thank you very much. All right, so the Buckeyes roll into Bloomington, Indiana on September 2nd for a 3:30 kickoff to get things started. And look, the way and the talent between the two, there's a big point spread on this one. The Buckeyes should start out 1-0, and then the following week they come home for the season opener at the Horseshoe, taking on Youngstown State, followed by a game against Western Kentucky at 4:00 on weekend number 3 on the 16th of September. Then that's when things get interesting, at least as far as I see. They hit it for a road game, South Bend, touchdown Jesus, taking on Notre Dame at Notre Dame, under the lights, 7:30 game. Everybody's going to be watching. It's going to be huge. Marcus Freeman's team showed a lot of improvement last year, and they may have gotten even better. They got quarterback Sam Hartman out of Wake Forest, a graduate transfer. This guy set all sorts of ACC records, 110 touchdown passes. The guy knows how to play quarterback. No doubt about it. This is going to be a tough battle for the Ohio State Buckeyes. In fact, let's run in here game by game. Let's just put a little asterisk. I'm not saying they're going to lose. I'm not going to say they're going to win. Let's put a little asterisk by it on that Notre Dame. We'll come back to it in a minute. After that, they come home and they get to take on Maryland. Okay. Should be able to win that one. Then they go on the road at Purdue. Now, that could be tricky. Every once in a while on the schedule, there's that game like against a Purdue or at Iowa under the lights, trips you up. Maybe it's one you weren't expecting to lose and you do. This is one I think you got to be aware of. Buckeyes still win this game. Don't get me wrong. As long as they're not looking ahead to the next week, which is a home date against Penn State. Beat Penn State last year, 44-31. I've said this on this podcast many, many times. Penn State had 2 losses last year, Michigan and Ohio State. They're going to want revenge. There's no doubt about it. They're going to be coming in loaded. And when you really look at it, this is back-to-back tough games on the schedule with Penn State, because then the next week, going on the road at Wisconsin. So Penn State and Wisconsin, 2 teams really gunning for the Buckeyes this year. And Wisconsin, don't forget, Luke Fickell had all of his ties at Ohio State. Played nose guard at Ohio State, was an assistant coach for Ohio State, was the interim head coach for Ohio State when Jim Tressel left, went 6-7, got him to a Gator Bowl. Believe me, Luke Fickell has this game circled on the calendar many times over. He's got something to prove. He wants to win, and it's going to be insane out there at Camp Randall. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere. So that's a tough portion of the schedule right there. Penn State and then at Wisconsin. You follow that up, Buckeye fans. You got a road game. It's at Rutgers. Should be able to win that one. And then this next part of the schedule, I like if you are a Buckeye fan. It's 2 home games in a row. I think they're 2 winnable games against Michigan State. That's a night game, by the way. Y'all know that, 7:30 at the Horseshoe. And then taking on Minnesota. So 2 straight home games, 2 winnable games before the Michigan game on the 25th. The Michigan game, look, going into the Michigan game, I put the asterisks against the Notre Dame game, and I got the 2 tough games against Penn State, Wisconsin. I mean, maybe you could split those. Maybe you win them both. I think at worst, going in the Michigan game, Ohio State's 9-2. At best, they're 11-0. I'm hoping. I think it'd be great if both Michigan and Ohio State were both undefeated going into that game. But worst case scenario, I'm thinking 9-2. But maybe not. I don't get down on me, Buckeye fan. I'm just saying worst case scenario. I'm just being prepared. But very well could be 11-0 as well going into that football game. So that's a look at the schedule and how I see it moving forward. Love to hear how you see it moving forward. Right here, right below at Talk Big Ten. Reach out to me on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you and get a follow from you. Speaking of Twitter, coming up, another one of our weekly benchmarks. It's called Tuesday Tweets. Grabbed a few I thought were amusing, and I will share them with you next on Locked On Big Ten. All right, let's take a look at one of our benchmark features we like to call Tuesday Tweets, and I got a few of them here for you that I want to get on. And the first one that caught my eye is from at Saturday Game Day with an interesting question. Which college football program do you consider tight end university? And it compares the Iowa Hawkeyes and the Miami Hurricanes. Well, Iowa, immediately what comes to mind? You got George Kittle, Noah Fant, TJ Hawkinson, maybe Dallas Clark, the old Indianapolis Colt. Miami's got Greg Olsen, Jeremy Shockey, Kellen Winslow II. If you want to go old school, maybe an old Willie Smith, Bubba Franks. It's a good question. Might have to give the edge to the Canes there. Maybe. Talk me into it. Maybe Iowa. Again, hit me up on Twitter at Talk Big Ten on that one. Here's one from at Wolverine Cron. And the question seems to be, the comment seems to be, white pants and blue top is the uniform combo catching on with Michigan recruits. I strongly disagree. Strongly. The maize pants. You got to go with the blue and the... No, wait, maize. Absolutely. Don't go to the white. I don't like it when they do the white. Let's see what else we have here. At Coach Allen IU, or this is Tom Allen, at Coach Allen IU. So did a team building exercise the other day and did some paintball. I've never done paintball. I've always been curious about trying it, but does that hurt when you get hit by that stuff? I don't know. But the team did some paintballing, and he said that the wide receivers were the best. Sneaky bunch. Got it done. And finally, on our Tuesday tweets, JW Sports, they put together the best atmospheres in college football. They took it from 24/7 Sports. All right, so right at the top, Beaver Stadium, Penn State. Hard to argue, especially if it's a night game with a whiteout. Michigan, right there with them at number 2. Always got 100,000 people there. Texas, Oklahoma, and Florida State with the chant. They are always great. We'll see the Buckeyes on here in the horseshoe. But here's the rest of the list, as you can see it. And if you're listening on the audio podcast, after the top 5, we've got Clemson, LSU, Alabama, Washington, and Oregon rounding out the top 10. Yeah, LSU's another game. I got to see a night game in LSU. I never have. That's on the old bucket list. All right, so that's it for Tuesday Tweets. I hope you enjoyed that as well. Thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen every day. And you everydayers out there, spread the word. Let's get it out there that we're out there. And our next show, we'll take an early look at the Penn State football program. So if you have some Penn State friends, let them know about our podcast here at Locked On Big Ten. And invite them in. You guys are in. I told you, we're the Cool Kids Club, the Big Ten Club. The more, the merrier. There are many ways for you to interact with me. I've mentioned it a couple times at Twitter, at TalkBig10. Tweet right back at you. And be sure to subscribe and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it is available each and every day. Now, I want you to check out Locked On Sports Today podcast for the latest on everything going on in sports. That'll do it for us. You have a great day. Thank you. I'm Craig Shemon for Locked On Big Ten.